So guys, the second video for the day regarding Citizen or Star Citizen or Squadron 42 in specific. Star Citizen Studio gets $46 million investment from billionaire Clive Garner and Son. We're also going to be talking about this Polygon hit piece, and let's call it for what it is. We'll get to that obviously towards the end of the article. But let's talk about this first one from Forbes Forbes. Yeah, just Forbes. We'll talk about Forbes from the start. So, South African billionaire Clive Carter's family office and his son Keith Carter, Snot Entertainment, are investing $46 million in Cloud Imperium Games, the studio behind Star Citizen, an incomplete video game that has raised a record $210 million directly from fans. Oof, the salt mine, please, salt. The Carter's 10% stake in the studio, first backing from a large investor, signals a turning point for the independent developer and its co-founder Chris Roberts, who has reportedly sought to stem skepticism that the game will run out of money before it's completed. So, look, at the end of the day, the $46 million that the Carter family is investing is only for publishing, okay? It's not for game development. So, the salt on both these articles is actually kind of real, but let's keep going. So, Los Angeles-based Cloud Imperium Games said Thursday the new capital will go towards marketing the single-player Squadron 42 for a summer 2020 release date. One of the two commercial releases for Star Citizen, sales of Squadron 42 would benefit the game's second component, a massive multiplayer online game that has been released in draft form to fans that have invested in the project. And obviously what they're talking about there, guys, is basically backers who get to go through and play the persistent test universe, or the public test universe, sorry. And that's what they're talking about, or the public universe. Having a great game is only half the battle, Roberts said in a statement. As we look forward towards the release of Squadron 42, we are acutely aware that having a AAA game that matches the biggest single-player games out there only goes so far if no one knows about it. With the investor from Carter, who made a $2.2 billion in 2002, selling his music company Zumba Group to German mass media corporation Bellamy's, Cloud Imperium is now valued at $496 million, according to the company. There will also be two new board members, Dan Offner on behalf of the Carters and Eli Klein as an advisor to the company. Roberts, who is well known for designing the best-selling Wing Commander series throughout the 1990s, remains a majority owner. Clive Carter did not return a request for comment. Star Citizen's 6-year development, longer than the standard 3 to 4 for companies for games for many games. Oh, cool. That's factually inaccurate. We'll get to that. And missed release deadlines have sparked doubts from some of the 2 million fans that donated to the project, including the plaintiff in a recent small claims lawsuit demanding a refund. On Thursday, Cloud Imperium released financial data that shows the company using up most of its cash every year thanks to a ballooning workforce. Yes, to build a game, you need a workforce. Big freaking surprise. But anyway, as for this this statement here, that 6-year development, longer than the standard 3 to 4 for many games. Okay, let's nip that in the butt now, okay? Star Citizen has been in development for 6 years. How long was Red Dead Redemption in development? 8 years. Interesting. So when you do game development, or when you are in a game development industry, what will generally happen is you go through, you will find an engine that suits your needs, you go through, you'll base your game on what you can do with that, and then you go through and you try and basically ram as much as you can into that engine in a 3 or 4 year cycle. But the thing is that before that stage, you're doing a lot of work with the game engine, a lot of the tool developments and stuff like that. Those 3 to 4 years is basically you just building the game itself, not a lot of the back-end stuff that Star Citizen has had to done. For example, Star Citizen went through and had to build a tool that allowed them to go through and actually put planets and orbits and stuff like that into the actual game. Now, without those tools, it is a lot harder to go through and actually build it. So that is why they've taken quite so long. What we've seen is them raising the money for a start and then going through and doing a lot of this background work, which a lot of other devs and a lot of other companies will do without you actually hearing about it. And for example, you know, Destiny, for example. Destiny was in development long before the, you know, 2010, 2012, I think it was 2012, release that it was. Okay, it had been in development long before that. You heard about it roughly around 2009, 2010, but it had been in development before that. So when they turn around and say longer than the standard 3 to 4 years for many games, no, that's not only is that actually generally inaccurate, but at the end of the day, you also got to remember too, Star Citizen is not just one game. It is a multitude of different games all put into one huge franchise. You got the FPS, you got the Space Combat Simulator, you got the EVE like trading systems. It is a whole mishmash of games all put in together. Plus they've been working on this plus Squadron at the same time. So they're actually coming out and building these technically two games. So yeah, like I say, this is where, you know, hit pieces are inbound. And I'll be very surprised if we do not see hit pieces like this over the next few years. Over the next year especially, I think the shitstorm that's coming Star Citizen's way is going to be pretty interesting. Because, like they said, this is a game that has gone through and has no major publication behind it. This is a game that was raised money, and this is a video that I've already done talking about is Star Citizen no danger to the rest of the gaming community. But yeah, basically, I'll put a link to the end of the video for that. But like I say, yeah, at the end of the day, this is basically Star Citizen going through and doing it without any major investment from publishers or major developers or anything like that. So yeah, I think there's going to be a few ruffled feathers, but let's jump into it. By the end of 2017, the company had brought in a total of $207 million and had spent $193 million since 2012. Capital, on the other hand, of 2017 fell 26% to $214 million from prior years. Which is interesting because when you go to here... Oh, sorry, is it this one or is it the previous one? This one, sorry. You go here... 2000 and what did they say? 2016. By the end of 2000, had fallen to 14 million for the prior year, right? So 2016. Interesting, because according to this, they hadn't. According to this, they had raised $44,890,000. So that's interesting, but let's get going. The total income made up of fan pledges as subscribers pass and fan events like the annual CitizenCon event have been consistent the past 3 years, with the company bringing in $44 million in 2017. So apparently they had fallen for 26% to 14 million in the prior year, which, okay, really? Where'd you get that number from? Because I can't see that here myself. And by the way, this is from a Polygon article. You think at the very least that they would, you know, swap data, but moving along. The majority comes from, the highest expenditure on itself, which was 85%, were developers last year, with a headcount of 446 across 5 studios in 2017. Salaries cost the company $30 million, which is roughly what I estimated previously. Staff sizes have grown to over 500. Other costs associated with the development made up the second largest line at $10 million. In the report from Gamer section of Forbes.com, I previously served as a freelance writer for sites like IGN, Polygon, Red Bull, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, whatever. Look, at the end of the day, that is the Forbes hit piece, which is interesting because they seem to be in contradiction to what Polygon says. But now Polygon says Star Citizen single-player game targets 2020 release. Squadron 42 will be completed thanks to an influx of $46 million from billionaire investors. Not really accurate, is it? But anyway, let's keep going. Today, Chris Roberts, creator of Star Citizen game project, announced that his organization has secured $46 million in private investments. Along with the announcement comes a release window for his team's single-player game, Squadron 42, is now expected to be released in the summer of 2020, more than 8 years after the original Kickstarter campaign, which is roughly what Red Dead took, 8 years. Funny that, isn't it? Seems like if you want to make a decent game, you got to put some decent time into it. The investors comes courtesy of billionaire record producer Clive Cutter and his son Keith. In exchange, the pair now owns approximately 10% of the shares for Cloud Imperium Games and have several seats on the board of directors. Several, they mean two, but regardless. Roberts maintains majority control of the company. As the result of the investors, Star Citizen project now has a value of nearly $500 million, or 496 million, I think it was. The Star Citizen project currently is the most funded crowdfunding project of any kind. You're not going to let that one go, are you? Its income from backers in 2017 amounted to more than $34 million, or double the amount earned by every other video game project on Kickstarter. Ooh, the salt. But anyway, using Robert's own self-reporting figures, the $46 million is roughly equivalent to 1 full year of funding from backers and private partnerships. In today's announcement, Roberts implied that much of the additional funding would be spent on promoting of Squadron 42. My understanding is it's all of that money is going to promoting of Squadron 42. But anyway, whose cast includes Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and other A-list Hollywood talent. Like, for example, Caviar. Why didn't you mention that? Interesting. We were building two of the most ambitious games ever embarked on in gaming, Roberts said in today's statement. We're drawing a firm distinction between single-player and multiplayer experiences with budgets that are unmatched by all but the very biggest projects. We have been acutely aware that having a AAA game that matches the biggest single-player game out there only goes so far if no one has heard about it, Roberts continued. Beware, because of this, we started to investigating ways to raise money to fund the upcoming marketing and release needs of Squadron 42. Today, Roberts has also revealed his organization's financial records for the first time. Figures include money raised from the sales of virtual spaceships and also partnerships with organizations like Intel. So there it is there. There's the chart. The data shows tremendous earnings power for Star Citizen brand, with roughly $35.7 million earned from backers over each of the previous 3 years. Which is funny because they said $14 million here. Moving along. I know, I'm not going to let that go. It's bullshit reporting. It really, really is. But anyway, with current estimates coming in at over $36.8 million for 2018. As for Star Citizen's multiplayer offering, the early alpha of the game still features only a fraction of the content promised. Yes, because they're still building it, but moving along. Our record attempt to play the Persistent Universe, or the PU as it's called. Actually, the PU stands for Player Universe, but moving along. Shows a much improved flight model and the beginnings of an in-game economy. Unfortunately, our time was plagued with game-breaking bugs that booted us from our servers or stuck us in orbit without a way home. Really? You had those sort of problems with the PU? What version of the PU did you play? Because I haven't had that problem with the PU much. Game bugs? Sure, occasionally. But considering I'm actually playing on the 3.4 PTU at the moment, which is the public test universe and is not the final release, it is remarkably friggin' stable. So, what version of the game were you playing where you went through and you got these game-breaking bugs that booted us from its server or stuck us in orbit without a way home? I would like to know. The PU has not had a release date since 2016. Further complicating the matter, Star Citizen's development is an ongoing lawsuit from Crytek, which initially alleged breach of contract and conspiracy. Recent court documents pin the next update in the proceeding to February 2019 timeframe. And what they don't mention in that is that the case is pretty much dead. Star Citizen has pretty much won that court case. That this whole court case has literally, it is on death's door right now. And the judge has basically turned around and said that if Crytek, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is my understanding of it, if Crytek wants to go for damages regarding Star Citizen, they have to first prove that a physical copy of Squadron 42 or Star Citizen was sold as a complete game, which it hasn't. Also, they are limited to damages for a 1-year period. That is it. So after the game's been in development for 7 years, there is a 1-year time frame where they can go through and go for damages if they prove a myriad of these other conditions. Everybody is basically saying this court case is dead. What I expect to happen regarding this court case is that they will come to Star Citizen or Cloud Imperium Games. They will want to settle because this game is, this lawsuit is pretty much over. They will want to settle it so that Cloud Imperium can put this behind them and get on with making their game. That would be the smart move. If they do take it to court, there is a chance that they can lose. But the biggest thing is that if they lose the court case, I'm pretty sure they have to pay the legal fees of Crytek. But that said, if Star Citizen wins the lawsuit, they then can go for damages to Star Citizen. Or they can go for damages, Star Citizen can go for damages, legal costs and stuff like that, and make Crytek pay their legal fees, or a portion of their legal fees. So, going through the court, basically one of these two companies is going to be up for damages for legal fees. It's really a no-win situation, especially for Crytek. So at the end of the day, I am pretty much suspecting that Crytek will be settling this. And Star Citizen will give them $100,000, whatever it may be, just to put the case to bed. That would be my understanding of it. But like I say, I'm not a lawyer. Look, at the end of the day, these are obviously two hit pieces that have happened. Look, I play Star Citizen, okay? I have some issues with the game taking so long for development and stuff like that, sure. But a lot of these articles that you see from mainstream media or the gaming industry are full of shit. They really are misleading bullshit articles. Kind of makes you wonder what they gain by doing that, doesn't it? But anyway, might want to check out the video. Is Star Citizen a threat? I put up a few weeks ago. But yeah, like I said, look, at the end of the day, as for this, I think this $46 million is a good thing. It is going to go towards promoting of Star Citizen. Obviously, the fan base will be promoting the shit out of this game as well. So hopefully we get the 2020 release, and hopefully this game is as good as what everybody thinks it will be. From what I've seen from gameplay footage like Gamescom and stuff like that for Star Citizen Squadron 42, it looks frigging epic. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, as you can tell. But yeah, as for these pieces here, these are just the hit pieces. They really are. They're just, yeah. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this $46 million? This sort of answers the question about the recent trade or that recent shares that were sold. over in to do with the Cayman Islands and stuff like that. So yeah, that looks like it might have been Chris Roberts selling 10% of the shares from, obviously, from himself to, for example, this $1 million investment from the billionaire Kavanaugh and his son. So that's what that was all about, which is what I kind of suspected. It was an investor. But yeah, so I'm kind of hopeful. I'm kind of thinking that this is a good thing, and you know, I think this is a really good thing for Star Citizen. And the fact that he's lining up these sort of investors for 2020 sort of means that they really are aiming for that 2020 release date. So that should be really, really interesting. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.